Hi guys, so it has been quite a while since I did a long form video. Um, I do apologize for that, but I've had a lot going on and the shorts are definitely a lot easier. So if you've been watching my shorts, you've seen that this guy is my next project coming up. I actually did repair this in a couple of years ago, but unfortunately it did not survive the move. It is broken in a very sensitive area that's easy to re-break. So if this one doesn't hold, then I'll actually be going in and putting a rod here and here so that it will stay this time. But for now, we're gonna try this stuff that has been had a lot of success for me so far. So hopefully he will go together and stay together this time. I was very new to this process when I first put him back together, so I'm hoping this time will be a little bit different and he will stay nice and solid for me. I do love this piece and I'm looking forward to redoing him, giving a new look. I did have somebody suggest that he get a gold color, and I'm thinking about that, but I'm also thinking about going shades of red and orange as opposed to the greens and golds that I've done this time. I think that might give him kind of a neat new look. So I did promise on my short this morning that I would be giving a little bit more information on myself. So basically, if you've noticed, I will go long stretches where the only thing I do is shorts. That is very simply a lot easier to do when you're dealing with a bad bout of executive dysfunction. I do have a pretty super fun combination of ADHD, OCD, and anxiety that does occasionally slow me down. But I don't like to lean on it like a lot of people do. I don't push the neurodivergent thing very hard because that's just not who I am. I like to think that I am pretty successful in my life in spite of my illnesses rather than because of them. And I've worked very hard to overcome my issues rather than use them as an excuse not to do things. But when you're in a situation where you're stressed out, sometimes you just have to focus on your own health and worry a little bit less about keeping up the appearance of being perfectly healthy. Oh, come on. I'm trying to remember how I did this last time to get him perfectly even. I don't think he's going to be perfectly even, but we can at least get him pretty even. Now, I did fill the inside and I am also going over the cracks. I'm going to try and stay as close to barely actually covering the surface, because recreating those scales is not the easiest thing to do. But we can do what we need to do. So as I was saying, I don't focus on the whole neurodivergent thing. I'm actually not a really big fan of that title. I feel like a lot of the push towards neurodivergent versus neurotypical actually, instead of making us more approachable and more understandable, it makes it more seem like an us versus them. And I don't think less of my friends who would fall into the neurotypical grouping. Simply, I don't think being born without mental health issues and without chemical imbalances in your brain makes you any more or any less of a person than being born with those issues. It's like being the fact that I'm legally blind. That would be like resenting my friends who are sighted and have been their whole lives. It's really just kind of silly when you think about it. And you can't expect somebody who doesn't have any particular type of illness to just understand what it's like to have it. You wouldn't expect somebody who's diabetic would not expect somebody who isn't to know what it's like to have to manage their insulin. And they wouldn't think less of them for asking questions and trying to find ways to help them. So I don't understand the stigma around people who don't have mental health issues trying to understand and help people who do. Now, that's not to say that I appreciate the people who say, oh, go get some fresh air, or go get some sunshine, or whatever, and that'll just fix your problem. That is not helpful either. I have been medicated in the past myself. I've been lucky enough to work with doctors that were good enough to help me figure out how to manage my issues for the most part without the medications at this point. So I do appreciate that, but I don't think less of anyone who needs those medications to manage their symptoms. I think people need to be a little bit more understanding of each other on both sides of the aisle on this one. But that's just because I actually know people on both sides of it. I know people who seem to think less of people because they were born healthy. I know people who seem to think less of people because they weren't born with a healthy mind. So I think that's part of who I am, is I just don't see what all the fuss is about. I also don't love the idea of, well, I can't do this because I have. Technically speaking, people don't tend to expect somebody with my combination to do well in retail. And I've spent almost 20 years thriving in a retail environment. It's just knowing when to step away. Something that a lot of people in this day and age really need to learn to manage, and that's knowing how to manage my own triggers. If I'm in a scenario where I know this is something that sets me off, instead of expecting other people to adjust their lifestyle or their situation, most of the time I will simply remove myself, saying I need to step away for a minute, I need to take a break. I've even been known to use, I need to use the restroom. But rather than sit there and suffer through or get upset with other people, I manage my own. I think a lot of people need to learn how to do that. And I think we'd find a lot happier people, a lot happier people, if we made it more normalized to manage and accept your own triggers instead of expecting everybody else to do it for you. And I'm sure there's going to be some people mad at that thought process, but simple thing. If I know something bothers me and I put myself in a situation where I'm going to have to deal with that thing, that's not the other people there's fault. That's my fault for putting myself in that scenario. So I think we've got him pretty solid. So we will give him, he's going to need at least a day to dry. Hopefully being in here where I can actually run the air conditioner, he won't run into the cracking issue I've had on some of my outdoor pieces. And I think that may be part of why he came apart so easily last time. So let me know in the comments what you think. Feel free to give me your opinions on pretty much anything I've talked about today. And I'm going to end it here, and I will talk to you guys next time.